to the People's Mirror. Now, today we want to put before the mirror these demands from the coastal part of Kenya that now requires that no one will be part of that particular negotiating table between the ODM and the UDA party other than Ali Hassan Joho. Starting from the beginning, the UDA party has since called for a meeting of its party structure officials to discuss getting into a coalition with the ODM party moving into 2027 together. And so while this is happening, the ODM party is also expected to call its house in order and of course present certain individuals to be in this particular negotiating table with the UDA party as part of the party that they are going to have a coalition talk with to see the success or rather the failure of that particular coalition talk before they move into other parties. Now there's a lot of concerns around it. One bit is the grassroots chairmen and chairwomen, or let's just say grassroots chair people, who feel like during the time of Raila Amolo Odinga, there was no discussion that was made, including talks of negotiation, without consulting them. But now they're witnessing an ODM party that is talking of negotiation and getting into a coalition without first consulting them. But away from them, there is also now a very new valid concern coming from the coastal part of Kenya that feel like if that negotiation is going to happen, then the only individual that can represent their interest in that particular negotiation is not even the deputy party leader, who is the current governor of Mombasa County, or even other governors around that particular spectrum, but Ali Hassan Joho. So we want to put before the mirror, why do the coast want Ali Hassan Joho in this particular negotiation table, and can the coast actually dictate the structural constitutional arrangements of the party when it comes to getting into this particular negotiation talks? Before we play the news bites that are coming from the coastal part of Kenya calling for inclusion of Honorable Ali Hassan Joho in this particular talks, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to remind you that if this is your first time interacting with our channel, please hit the subscribe button so that we grow together, and also so that we keep updating you on what happens in the Kenyan political scene, of course, as it unfolds. Now, quick first, let us listen to the statement that was made by the members, MPs, the members of parliament coming from the coastal region that affiliate themselves with the ODM party, and now that demand that no other individual other than Ali Hassan Joho should represent their interest in this particular negotiation. Let's listen to it.
Everyone is aware about within ODM, the parties that are going to negotiate for and on behalf of ODM, Ali Hassan Joho must be in that table, and that is not negotiable. The cost has contributed heavily for ODM to be where it is. And there is nothing they can talk about ODM without cost.
Ikiwa kutakuwa na wale ambao tunawaita Kiingereza technocrats, na kuna wale ambao watakuwa ni wanasiasa, wabunge, na hata kama kutakuwa na vitengo vingine, tunasema lazima viongozi wa pwani ama wa pwani wawakilishwe vilivyo.
When it comes even further, apart from the discussion of His Excellency the President, any other positions, then the coastal leadership, coastal people should be recognized and awarded what deserves to them, because we are stakeholders and we are seriously going to be stakeholders going forward. The times when tulikuwa tunangojea maembe is long gone.
Katika hizi kamati zote zitakazoundwa kunegotiate mambo ya 2027, tunataka agenda ya pwani iwakilishe vilivyo, kwa sababu tunajua most of these big parties wamekuwa na tendency ya kuneglect mambo ya pwani, especially katika meza ya mazungumzo. This time round tumesema pwani ni lazima ikue katikati ya haya mazungumzo.
Yes. So that is what is coming out of the coastal end, where now they're saying that, of course, as you have heard with from the horse mouth themselves, they're saying that it is non-negotiable when it comes to the involvement of Ali Hassan Joho in this particular issue. And the rest of the speakers are saying that it is very, very important to include coast in this particular negotiation. Okay, so including coast is one thing, but why Ali Hassan Joho? So you remember this coast issue is very, very sensitive issue. First, coast brings in around 2 million votes in the overall vote voter bucket previously that has determined presidents before, and it is one of the backyards of the ODM party other than Narok, of course, which is I'm saying Coast and Narok as two areas that are the backyard of the ODM party other than the Nyanza area where the party is predominantly coming from. And so this particular talk into the table, they are saying if the ODM party is going into any coalition talk or they are going to have conversation with anyone moving forward, then they want the coastal voice to be heard because of those 2 million votes. But one thing they are keeping, that the only individual that they want, of course, to represent their interest is Ali Hassan Joho. Towards the end of this particular episode, I'm going to detail why the coastal people are very, very keen on Ali Hassan Joho specifically. But remember the dynamic of Coast. Coast is a very sensitive area that you cannot disregard. For quite some time back, way some time that most people might not remember, younger generation I say, but the older generation recall very well when Coast sometimes back was calling for Pwani Si Kenya movement within the Kenyan space to be, you know, identified independent of the Kenyan part. And in some our previous episodes in our channel, our parent channel, the Civic Lens KE, which is now very operational and you can engage yourself with later on, in one of our videos that we did in that channel, we detailed how Coast came to be, detailing the 16-mile coastal strip that was, of course, a negotiation between the Sultan of Zanzibar and, of course, the British during that time. And so the history of Coast as part of the solid landmass of the Kenyan country is something that is always a very, very fragile topic. But now Kenya, of course, is one state and the coastal people are part and parcel of the Republic of Kenya. So when their demands come, their demands always are treated with some seriousness. And I can just give you one example to show you how the coastal demands are treated with seriousness. How the Kadhi courts came to be in the constitution part of Kenya was, of course, a call by our Muslim brothers and sisters, but it was heavily championed by the coastal community. So anything that upsets the coastal community in the structure of leadership is always treated with urgency and sensitivity. So within the ODM party, they are calling for this. They are saying, okay, Raila is gone, and the way you have seen that particular member of parliament saying time za kungojea maembe zimeisha, and so now what he's saying clearly is that it is their time to actually be included in this particular negotiation talks. I could have gone back to ODM at 20 just a little bit to listen to the statements that were being made by Ali Hassan Joho then, but one thing that was very, very clear with the statements that were made by Ali Hassan Joho in the ODM at 20 summit is that he was very angry with certain individuals of the party that wanted to oust him, and he said kama ni mbaya mbaya, kama umeleta vita. He was speaking this to the decision making panel of the ODM party that was sidelining him and sidelining the coastal region from this particular negotiations. One of the reasons why was Joho being sidelined, one of the reasons why the likes of Joho have been sidelined outside the decision making table of the ODM party right now is because they are serving in government. Him, Oparanya, Mbadi and the likes of very, very strong members of the ODM party and are still strong members of the ODM party, but when they jumped ship to work in the Ruto's government, then their decision making within the party structures is seen as one that might dilute the overall position of the members of the party. Okay, so we are going to make a decision and we have to decide whether we are going to have a coalition talk with Ruto or we are going to have a coalition talk with Kalonzo. And so there are some key members of ourselves, including Honorable Hassan Joho, who, for example, is from the Ruto camp, and you include him in this particular decision-making table, most likely the decision or the point that is going to chip in will persuade the table towards President William Ruto's coalition, even if that is not what is good for the party. And so Honorable Oburu Odinga had said previously that the members of the party who are now serving in the government should give the party an opportune time so that the party can exercise its own structures and functions independent of them. But this does not sit very well with Oparanya, this does not sit well with Joho, and of course this does not also sit very, very well with Mbadi. They come out every day making and asking the people, including Opiyo Wandayi, to move in a particular manner. So now in this Joho issue, they are saying if Joho is not included in the negotiations that are going to happen in between ODM and of course the UDA party, then the coastal part should be counted out. Let us go back to the statement that was made by Ali Hassan Joho, of course, in the ODM and 20 to see the root cause of this matter.
Round the days of Mexico, when the sun shine daily on the mountain top, I took a ship on a sailing ship. When I reached Jamaica, I made a stop. But I'm sad to say I'm on my way. I won't be back for many a days. My mind is down, my head is turning around. I left a little girl in Bondo Town. Endelea. Edwin. Endelea. Sad to say I'm on my way. I won't be gone for many a days. My mind is down, my head is turning around. I left a little girl in Bondo town.
The songs and of course the cash dishing that was happening in that particular soundbite that I've just played, ladies and gentlemen, where Joho was calling upon the youth from the coastal area who could still remember what Raila used to sing and was giving them, I think, 10,000 each if they got it right. Joho went ahead and made now a very strong speech, a very passionate speech in front of President Ruto during the ODM founders dinner. And I wanted to play this particular part of the news bite to bring Joho's interest into the picture before we make a commentary on why now Joho and Oparanya could be very key officials that might be wanted by the ruling party to be involved in this negotiating table. But if not involved in this negotiating table, that could be the basis of their revolt to start their own parties in the coastal region and in the Kakamega region as a way of putting a stop to the ODM influence in the 2027 race. But primarily, let's go back to the speech where all this stems from.
I thought I was there. And by definition, I would qualify to be a founding member. I would understand at that point it was difficult to notice me because I was a nobody. Some young guy from Kisauni who Baba believed in was there in some meeting somewhere and apitwa tu hapo. But even today you want to say you cannot notice me when I am the minister in the government of the day today. And then also you will remember that in 2008, Chairman, the biggest surprise in that election that you talked about was none other than Hassan Ali Joho. I was in my late 20s, and for the first time, I had gone to parliament and I was elected as the National Organizing Secretary of ODM in 2008. Mulikuwa wapi? Wengine mulikuwa wapi? So sometimes when you see us agitating with certain issues, it's because we believe in this party. We've sacrificed so much for this party and we've suffered so much for the party known as ODM. Finally, Your Excellency, I just want to remind all of us, na ukumbushe, unajua Waswahili wasema wewe kumbusha mtu abebe, akitaka yakubali ama yakatae. Our late founding father, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, did not only work with President William Ruto. Number one, he started working with President Moi. He worked with President Kibaki. He worked with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and he worked with President William Ruto. Kumbukeni hiyo.
That was the end of Joho's speech at the ODM founders dinner, where he was saying that he was also a founding member of this party. However, his position then might have been very small and unnoticeable among the very many individuals that were championing the interest of the ODM party then. But he clarified very clearly that as early as 2008, when he was just in his late 20s, he had been elected to parliament under this very party, the ODM party, and become the national organizing secretary of the ODM party at that particular tender age. So he asked at that particular ODM at 20, where the rest of the members who are now sounding and making decisions for the party right now and are treating Joho as an insignificant figure, according to Joho himself, where they were. But now, if you take a look at it beyond the agitation and the statements that have to, of course, be codified and, be made in a manner that suits the situation, but also still sells the intention beyond the situation, what Joe was really saying is that this particular neglect that is coming as a result of post-Baba should not happen towards him individually, because Baba believed in him as a very small boy from Kisauni those times, and Baba have walked with him over all this period until this time, until the point where now Baba himself saw it fit fit that he be called as one of the ministers within the ruling government. So this details his journey as a close AD, a confidant, and someone that Baba trusted, and someone that should not be overlooked when it comes to the decisions of the party that, as he says, is sacrificed for to get to this level. But then he also said another thing, which is now making it very, very difficult for people within the ODM party to actually make this decision. On Joho. He's saying that let us remember categorically that Raila Odinga did not only contest against these individuals, but he also worked with them. He worked with Moi, he worked with Kibaki, he worked with Kenyatta, Uhunye, and now he's working with Ruto. So Joho anasema if he worked with all these guys, then kumbukeni hiyo, and that gap is what is now making some of the ODM officials feel a type of way when it comes to Joho being part of this negotiating table in 2026. Now this negotiating table is going to decide whether the UDA party is the party that the ODM party should form a coalition with moving into the 2027 politics or not, and if not, should the ODM party go alone, and if not, should the ODM party explore other options? And so why is Joho's interest being put in it? From the coastal people, they're saying that if Joho is one person whose political career goes beyond the gubernatorial position that he held currently, and so if Joho is there, then they believe that their interest will be taken care of, the coastal interest, because now Joho is not going to seek for any other gubernatorial seat from the coastal area. Actually, if you're talking about presidential hopefuls, then the name of Joho is one of the names that can now be suggested because of that backyard support that he has. And so the coastal people feel without Raila in the scheme and without any other person representing their interest, Joho is best placed to represent their interest that much. Now, from Joho's end, that is what he has said, and of course he calls for that particular recognition as well. But why is the ODM members hesitant? Other members now have been heard to say that irrespective of what the coastal people are saying, the ODM is a party that works within party structures and constitution. And so Joho himself also has to submit himself to the constitution of the party. And if the constitution of the party requires that Joho forms part of the team that is going to negotiate, then well and good. But should the constitution of the party see it fit that Joho is not the individual that is not going to be in that table, then also well and good. So the ODM party is yet to make that particular party decision moving into this particular few days and few weeks before they convene that particular meeting that is going to select individuals who are going to be part of the coalition talk, of course, before the National Delegates Conference. While this is happening, other members, or rather grassroots chairmen of the ODM party are feeling left out by this particular decision. They're saying that previously Raila never left them out on making decisions like this. And so when the National Delegates Conference has not been held and talks of coalition are being talked about, this national chairman of the ODM party now feel that this is a rash move by the parties. They're saying that they're not siding with either wing. They're not siding with the wing that supports broad-based government or the wing that does not. But they're just saying that it is very, very important for the 10-point agenda to be fully implemented. At the same time, it is very, very, very important for a national delegates convention to be held before this particular team is sent to coalition. Here, the People's Mirror, we just keep our mirrors focused on the ODM party for now, taking a look at what will happen, how will their decisions go. Will they hold a national delegates conference first before they hold a meeting of talking into coalition, or will they first have the meeting of coalition before they hold the national delegates conference? But most importantly, are the wishes of the coastal people going to be heeded to now that Baba is no longer in the scene and the coastal people want their son to be on top of these particular negotiating talks? Keep it here, the People's Mirror, as we bring for you our next episode.